Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. Today, I welcome Tara to the show where we're going to be talking about many things, reprogramming the subconscious mind, healing, and many, many more subjects around that. So, introduction to Tara. Tara is a former paramedic who transitioned into helping people transform their mental health through psychedelics and reprogramming of the subconscious mind. Tara is on a mission to help people who want to transform their lives and step into their own power, living a life that is truly limitless. So, Tara, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on today. First of all, it'd be really interesting just to hear what kicked off this transition really for you, because you're a paramedic and now you're moving to helping people with psychedelics and many, many more things. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to hear your story and transition.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on, and I'm excited. So I would say it all started. I have a sister with severe mental health issues. And so mental health has always been really close to my heart. And I've always looked for alternative solutions to help her because I felt like the medication and that route wasn't serving her the way that it needed to. And during my path as a paramedic, I went through my own mental health struggles. I had PTSD, depression, anxiety,
Mm,
um, and it really challenged me in many ways. You know, and you kind of couple that with life happening, and so you're just trying to figure it out. And and I felt like I wasn't able to serve people as a paramedic the way that I wanted to on a bigger level. I knew that mental health was important to me. So after 9 years of working as a paramedic, I ended up leaving that career to go and work in a holistic treatment center for mental health and addictions. And so through that experience, it just opened my mind so much because we were seeing people coming in and completely transforming using yoga, meditation, diet, routine, nature therapy. We were using horse therapy and also Amen therapy, which is like a neurofeedback. And
mm,
just watching people transforming just through those modalities and slowly getting off of their medications there was really something there for me. And it was also like an intake center. So you were staying there over a period of time. And so I
mm.
was really inspired. And that kind of stuck with me. And so after I left my career, after I went into like mental health and addiction center, I ended up on this path where the addiction center ended up going bankrupt. I was unemployed. I was going through a divorce, my own stuff, my own experiences in my life, and it led me to Mexico, where I found psilocybin. I wasn't looking for it, but it met me where I was at, and I had a beautiful experience there that truly transformed me. I would say that just one experience, I'm not the same person that I was before. And with my sister, my family, and all the people that I know in my life that struggle with mental health, I was like, there's something here that I really want to explore, and I need to find a path to get this medicine to more people. And so that's kind of what set me off on my journey into psilocybin therapy.
Wow, well, thanks for sharing that, Tara. And yeah, like you shared, like mental health seems a very close subject to your heart from the relationships in your life and what you went through as a paramedic as well. And then that's ultimately led you to discovering psilocybin. I must admit, I struggle saying that actual words.
That's okay. Psilocybin therapy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, there's certain words I struggle with, but yeah, it's yeah, no, that's cool. So yeah, with a lot of the work you've been doing, like and helping people, I know you do some like retreats, like healing retreats for people to really help them work through some of their challenges. So yeah, it'd be interesting to hear a little bit about what you do. Is it like going into the body? Um is it like them connecting themselves just for the individual who may be wanting to heal on their own journey?
Yeah. So a lot of the work that I do in preparation for a retreat setting where we would use psilocybin is all about meditation, breath work, anything that connects you with yourself. It gives you
Mm,
that space to clear your mind and just be inside of your body and just really tune into how you're feeling in that moment, and kind of learning how to really self-regulate and how to learn how to navigate like your world and the chaos that happens on a daily basis that we're
mm,
all kind of going through, ups and downs, but like getting really grounded in yourself. And so once people can really like get clear on how to connect with themselves on a deeper level and understand themselves from that place, then when you come into a retreat, you're just more open. You're ready to receive the medicine, you're
mm,
ready to connect with it on a deeper level. So that's usually where I like to start with
mm.
people.
I love it, love it. Was there anything in your journey you found particularly useful? You mentioned some things around like journaling, breath work. Breath work for me has been a personal favorite. Um, but yeah, is there anything you found really useful to sort of like get in touch with yourself a bit more?
Yeah, I would say definitely meditation.
Mm.
When I first started meditating, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I was like, I don't know, am I doing this right? I'm like doing the things that it tells me to do, but I don't know if I'm
Been
actually
there.
doing it. I think it's just, meditation, whatever that means to you. It can literally be going out in nature and like walking and just like observing, like just being like quieting your mind and finding that place. And a lot of times breath work is really powerful as well. I haven't explored that on a deep, deep level, but I definitely do bring it into my retreats, and I try to use it like after my meditations, just do some breathing, because I do find it helps to kind of bring up whatever you're feeling in that moment. I'm not sure what your experience has been, but I really feel like it really brings emotions to the surface, because I think that we push them down. We don't have time to deal with those emotions. We just push them away. We're living busy lives. And it like kind of allows you to be like, wow, like I'm actually feeling really sad today, or I'm feeling angry, and just like feeling that and understanding it.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I've had something with my own breathwork experiences, stuff that logically try to think about that I wouldn't have got to unless I went into the body. Because definitely been there trying to like think, okay, that happened, and then trying to think of my problem. And there's definitely a benefit in thinking, but breathwork for me has gotten to access all kinds of like emotions, whether it was grief or like a type of loss and grief, or like sadness or anger or frustration or an amount of anxiety that I was just pushing away. So yeah, totally resonate with you in terms of expression. For me, I think it brings up that I
Yeah, because
needed to.
Yeah, because I mean, because emotions are energy. So
Mm,
if we're not allowing them to be expressed, they're actually getting stored in our body, in our tissues. So when we are breathing, we're actually bringing more oxygen to the entire body, and we're kind of loosening them up. Like I think of it like oil and water. Like if you were shaking a jar of oil and water, all of the emotions and grief that you've stored in your body come to the surface. So imagining like as you're breathing, that's the shaking that's happening. And then all of those emotions and the grief is coming to the surface. So the oil is coming to the surface. And then you can see it from a different perspective. You can kind of become the witness of those emotions. And then you just kind of let them go and like allow them to leave the body. And as you do that, you're healing. So that's part of the work. That's what we're meant to do. We're not meant to push away our emotions and to suppress them, because then we become like dynamite. We're ready to explode when
yeah.
that last thing, happens to us that we just cannot handle. It can be something so small that sets us off, right? So yeah.
Mm, yeah, been there when it's the smallest thing has just like made an explosion in the past. So
Yeah.
yeah, being able to let that express those emotions out. Like
Yeah.
you touched on, it's like a type of energy as well that's just moving and moving around and bring it up to the top. I love what you're saying with your experience as well. With your psilocybin like experience, what did that kind of offer you? Was that like a further experience into the body? Yeah, just be interested to hear a little bit about the benefit you found from that.
Yeah. So for me personally, at the time, I would say like I had really low self-esteem.
Mm,
I really didn't know who I was or where I was going. I was obviously in this place of like in between jobs. I had left a 9-year career to go into mental health, and then that didn't work out. So and obviously marriage didn't work out, and all these things were happening to me. And what it did is it kind of gave me like a bird's eye view of my life and understanding like
Mm.
why those things happened to me, what was the meaning behind them, and now where do I need to go, and kind of showing me like the direction I needed to go, and also really feeling supported on a spiritual level, which I had only ever read about. I had actually never had any experiences, mystical experiences. But for me, that experience was very mystical. It was like I felt like I was communicating with something greater than myself. So
Mm.
obviously not everybody's experience is going to be that. Like I've been doing this work for long enough to see that every single experience for other people can be completely personal. And also for myself, like I could do one medicine journey and then go do another one. It can be completely different.
Mm.
And so sometimes that can kind of block us a little bit because we have an expectation, like, oh, I heard, Tara on the podcast and this is how I'm supposed to feel. So now I'm going to have this experience, but it's always what you need and never what you expect. So yeah, as we kind of chatted about your
Yeah.
ayahuasca. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. From mine, it was, my plant medicine, it's like the first one going in and felt like, unstoppable. Like, wow, all this like realization, but then going into the second and third one, and then it really put me in my place and actually showing me some of those, maybe more challenging emotions that I needed to feel into, at a very deep level. So for me, it kind of felt like it always shows you what you need. When in my experience as well. So no,
Yeah.
that's really cool how it kind of shows you that bird's eye view, and you're able to get like a perspective and a meaning to things as well,
Yeah.
where you were. And yeah, with the you mentioned you had like a challenge with like self-esteem, and I know
Mhm.
the listener or many listeners to this podcast are often asking about this, wanting to like build their self esteem, their self worth, how they feel about themselves. Is there anything? I know you like to talk about this as well. Is there anything you found really beneficial as kind of like a small practice on your journey to really build up your self esteem?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. I would honestly say the biggest thing we could do for ourselves to build our self-esteem is to start to build a relationship with yourself.
Mm.
Almost like starting to date yourself. We're so focused on relationships outside of ourselves, but we never actually cultivate a healthy relationship with ourselves. And so, getting to know yourself on a deeper level, whether that means, going out and trying new things you've never tried before. Maybe, if you want to kind of tap into your creativity, take a sculpture or painting class, explore the arts, music, start to journal a lot about how you're feeling, start to understand yourself on a deeper level, like go out and buy yourself something nice, invest in yourself. I think that as we do these things, we start to build our self-worth.
Mm.
And also I would say I did Louise Hay, she did a book called
Mm.
Mirror Work. That was a really powerful book for me specifically. So it's like literally you're looking in the mirror and you're staring at yourself in the eyes and you're repeating mantras. And as silly as it sounded, and it might actually feel really silly at first, you'd be laughing at yourself. But over time, you're like, okay, I'm starting to believe this. I'm starting to like see that I am worth it. I do love myself. And it can take time and it really depends where you're at in your journey. But I think as you really just you get comfortable being alone and you get comfortable with who you are and understanding yourself and what you like and what you don't like, you really kind of develop your own authentic self and really kind of getting clear on that. And so then, you're it's just inevitable that your confidence is gonna, increase and things like that. And also for me, like exercise and diet have been super important in my own confidence because if I didn't feel good about myself and my body and how I was,
Mm.
feeling, I wouldn't have the confidence I have today, So I think, especially as I'm getting older, like your body's changing and you just want to feel good about yourself. So you just do all the things you need to do to take care of it.
Mm. Yeah, looking after yourself and the
Yeah.
dating yourself. I really like that because I know we're taught. I've certainly been guilty of being like looking for that external validation of maybe it was the girl I was dating or something, trying to get that to feel good about myself, or just even validation on social media is, a typical one. And I can get caught in that now and then, like human beings. But yeah, I love what
Yeah.
you said about finding some time to date yourself, see what you like, and then looking after yourself as well.
Yeah.
Holding that time.
Yeah, I think we're all like that, like in our own little way. We're all looking for external validation, like, and especially in social media and but just when you start to recognize it, when you just start to be like, wait a second, like, did I put that post up because I wanted to like help someone or like share something that I learned? Or am I putting that post up so I can get like all of these likes, right? So it's not necessary. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. It's just becoming more self-aware and
Mm,
realizing, okay, you know what, like this relationship could be temporary. So when the relationship goes, I'm not going to feel good about myself. So
mm,
recognizing that is like the first step to realizing that the relationship really has to be with you. It's like that's the most important relationship in your life, and you have to nourish it and honor it. Like schedule yourself into your week every single day, you know?
mm. Self-awareness piece that can even create. I found that can even create a change by just becoming aware. But you don't know that unless you find that time with yourself. I've certainly experienced. For you, was that? It sounds like you've done a lot of like being with yourself and then understanding what you need, particularly since your psilocybin like journey. Before that, was that the case, or was it kind of just a cycle through life?
I would say before psilocybin, before that experience, I was looking for external validation. I was a people pleaser. I never put myself first. I was always worried about making other people happy. I was in codependent relationships, so that was my cycle. And once I broke out of that, which can be scary, but once you're out of it and once you see with psilocybin for me, it was my expansion of my own personal lens of understanding myself. Once you can get to that point, then you can really like break the cycle. You're like, no, I see that, this is a trauma bond in this relationship and
Mm,
that we need to be happy in ourselves to really make a relationship work. And I think once we can recognize that and we can work through those things within ourselves, even in a relationship,
mm,
just being aware of it and then starting to do the work on yourself can be really powerful. And I work with a lot of couples actually in my retreats. And it's really interesting to see when they're doing their own work on themselves, how much it can actually help the relationship, you know?
mm.
Yeah.
Wow. You mentioned sort of like the word trauma bond earlier
Mhm.
as well. How I mean, do you do a bit of work on people's like trauma in general and like how that might be holding them back? Because I know for me, when I've been through kind of even the deeper work in the last couple of years, there's quite a lot I've uncovered. So do you find like a lot of people you're working with are holding maybe some trauma they weren't aware of and working through it?
Well, the reality is that we're all coming from trauma
Mm,
because
true.
there's always something we didn't get when we were little that we may
Mm,
have needed. We're never coming into the perfect scenario, the perfect situation, because our parents were also in their cycle from their
mm,
families, and it's just this continuation. So I feel like trauma can come in all forms. It can be significant trauma, or it can be just little things like you weren't even acknowledged as a child. Maybe you were abandoned, or it can be little things like that. But going back to your question, I feel like with trauma, I think that we are kind of sorry. I might have to get you to repeat the question. I feel like I lost my
no
train of
worries. No,
thought
I
there.
I was just no asking. It's a very interesting point that we all have some kind of trauma, which I genuinely believe as well, in just different forms. And often I think with trauma, when I used to think of it, it was like some kind of like massive like accident or huge abuse or something like that, which it can be, of course. But yeah, for me, I just like always used to look over like small things like called something or had a significant argument with someone, or like it didn't work out or something, even like not working out when you're dating someone or in a relationship, it's just that can be quite traumatic as well. I've come to realize, well, the younger sort of earlier in my 20s be like, meh, just get on with it kind of thing, and that was abandoning myself, I realized like later.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like our trauma is stemming from our childhood, but what happens is whatever that trauma is, big or small, it's
Mm,
kind of overshadowing our adult life. And then it plays out in our relationships, so we're attracting in on an energetic level. I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but like we're attracting into our life where we're vibrating, where our body, our trauma is vibrating. So if we're expressing an abandonment wound, we're gonna attract in those people that are gonna abandon us, until
mm,
we work through that wound, which is really just acknowledging it, sitting with it, accepting it, and that can be a bit of a process. So yes. So in answer to your question, which I now remember, um, I do work with people to help them get to the source of where their trauma is coming from. And then we heal that there. So we can do that in many ways. I do a lot of guided meditation, shadow work.
mm,
I also work with hypnotherapy, and that can be very powerful at reprogramming the subconscious mind and the stories that we told ourselves around those traumas. Because we all come into this life with different perception. So my reality is not your reality. Like we could see the same sunset, but you are going to see it totally different than I'm going to see it based on my experiences, so that's the lens that I see things through. And so as we kind of expand our lens and start to question things, maybe is that true? Is that not true? Did that actually happen when I was 5? Once we really get clear on the source of that, the trauma, or like where that it could show up as abandonment
mm.
in your adult life, or anxiety, or whatever it is. Once we get to the source of the anxiety or the abandonment, then we can reframe it. And then when you come out of hypnotherapy, for example, then you feel different, and it's shifting how you're feeling and the emotions that you associated with that experience.
Mm. Yeah, there's some things you said very relatable in terms of like abandonment, the anxiety as well, and I know a lot of people listening to this podcast are challenged by those things as well. So getting to those wounds, really understanding them, and it sounds like you're doing some deep work with people as well to really get to the bottom of it. But yeah, becoming aware first of all is is that first step, right? Even though it's very
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, and sometimes like we might not remember it. Like our
Mm,
conscious mind might not remember what our subconscious knows.
mm.
So we can
A
protect
lot goes
ourselves.
on.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, totally. No, Tara, thanks. Just want to say thank you for everything you've shared. I know we could go into so many more of these subjects and branch out even more. Um, I know you do a ton. You add a lot of value to people's lives. So, where can the listener find you if they want to find out a little bit more about your work? Maybe reach out to you. Where would be the best place?
Yeah, so my website, taraportelli.com, or
Hmm.
you can learn about my retreats on arcadiahealing.ca. And yeah, I'm offering some free meditations on there and things like that. And you can also get me on Instagram. I am Tara Portelli. So you can kind of get information and connect with me there, and we can see where you need to go if you need support on your journey.
Amazing. Well, thanks once again, Tara, for coming on the show today.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. This has been great.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember, you are in control of your own self esteem and confidence.